you guys enjoy, I'll stop my cam.
Right.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Jason. I'm your host for today. Today we have a very special lineup. This is different from the Enterprise Blockchain Week. This is organized by Blockchain Village at Medini. Today we have a panel of thought leaders who will be covering on the topic of blockchain and COVID-19. It's a virtual roundtable. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. But before we go into introducing the panelists, I'd like to introduce the organizers who have brought this panel together. They are Blockchain Village at Medini. So Blockchain Village at Medini, for those who do not know, is a strategic project. It's one of those very rare blockchain initiatives in the country, which is supported both by federal and state government to develop the ecosystem and a blockchain hub in Iskandar, Malaysia. They have a huge plan, and what it is, I think the best thing to do is to introduce the project director himself. His name is Ibrahim Majid. Good morning, Ibrahim.
Good morning, Jason. Thank you very much for putting this together for us. It's a pleasure to be able to talk directly and discuss the topic which is quite pertinent today, which is blockchain and also COVID-19. Before we start off the discussion, allow me to introduce to the audience what is BVAM, or we call it Blockchain Village at Medini, and how we plan to take this forward. So as what you mentioned earlier, it is a strategic project in nature. It is unique. It is the first one, I would say, in the region where various parties, from industry players, from stakeholders, from the governance body and all that comes together and pull their strength together to develop an ecosystem to support a particular industry, which is blockchain. So when we first started this, just to give you some background, right? When we first started this project, we actually did very thorough syndication process where we engaged almost close to about 50 different organizations, because the other objective of doing this syndication is also to get their buy-in and also to get their input and to be able to identify what are the key areas that is required when it comes to a development of a technology ecosystem. So from the slide you can see, right, the kind of organization that we have actually spoken to and discussed. They come from talent side, which is very key to any ecosystem. We need talent. So we have spoken to the main universities out there. We engage the federal and state because they are the policy makers. So we have to basically understand what are the direction of these policy makers and what kind of support they can actually provide the industry. We have also engaged the infrastructure players, because what is also key in any ecosystem is also a stable and reliable infrastructure. So based on all this type of organization, we basically have identified and we have actually developed a blueprint, which I think, if I don't mind to share.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me just quickly run through the slides. So yeah, this is what we call it the house of the village. So you can see we identified 4 key strategic areas in order for us to establish the ecosystem. So talent being the main one, infra, promotion and policy. And for each strategic areas, we have identified what are the key actions that need to be in place in order for us to support the industry. And as a result of this, blueprint, we have actually documented the plan. If you can see in the screen, we have a booklet, and anyone can actually have a copy of this booklet to see exactly what is there in store for them. And this booklet is open for you to scrutinize and give feedback in terms of how we can actually improve it better. As I mentioned, this is a collective effort. So we want to get as many players, as many partners as we can to be able to draft this together. So at the same time, we also, as a result of this project, we have actually also established a steering committee, and I believe Access Malaysia, as one of the partners, is already part of the steering committee. They are part under policy. So as you can see that this is made up of group of people or organization with the vested interest in the development of the blockchain industry. So as a group, we are able to drive our agenda, because at the moment, as you know, there are pockets of effort that is being done by various parties in trying to develop the industry. But I think the end goal is to come together and create a stronger voice under BVM to actually push the blockchain industry agenda in Malaysia in particular. Some updates in terms of the activity that we have done since the launch of this project. As you can see, we have been quite busy. We have done education, we have done the meetings, we have done the soft launch, we even done the official launch, which was appreciated by the former Menteri Besar of Johor. We actually, while we were crafting the strategy, we actually started doing talent development already, and we actually organized this with one of the existing companies in our location in Medini, Iskandar Putri, which is OK Blockchain. They have actually engaged the university, and out of that initiative, they have actually trained up to about 50 students. And these are students which have no idea what is blockchain. They were trained from ground zero and was brought up to speed and eventually hired by the company. So these are the area that we want to grow even bigger with the industry and basically immerse ourselves in the universities. And of course, as we go forward, we managed to get more companies to join this village, and we actually went abroad and start promoting this village to the market outside Malaysia, like in Germany, in France, and even in Japan.
Japan.
Yeah, Japan is quite interesting actually. There's a lot of opportunity for us in Japan. So yeah, but our end goal is to make this location as a hub for the blockchain industry, but with the intention to also help other people to establish their hub. So rest assured, for us, our job doesn't stop in Medini Iskandar Putri. We want to be the reference point for this industry and help bring our ecosystem to other locations. So you can rest assured that you are able to tap not just in terms of development of a new ecosystem and a new location, but of course the opportunity that might be available on those locations. We have already received inquiry for people as far as Borneo side of Malaysia, asking us whether we can help them develop a village of their own. So we said that hold on, let us develop our village first. Then once we have something more, then we can actually help you. So yeah, so that's the plan basically. That's the introduction of BVM, Blockchain Village and Medini. And I welcome any question throughout the session. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the introduction and also for organizing, this, putting together this agenda. Now, I think this is becoming a kind of like a thing now that we're doing. So for those who are listening in and for the first time as well, do stay until the end for special instructions on how to receive your very unique proof of attendance cryptographic token. Now, what is this token? Basically, it's instead of giving you guys a traditional certificate of attendance for attending, this educational program, we decided, you can lose normal certificates. You can lose it easily. You don't carry it around with you. Whereas this is so much cooler. This is so much better. This is a token that can be deposited. You can claim and you can deposit into your cryptocurrency wallet of choice. And it basically, you can use it as a collectible to prove that you have attended this. It's timestamped, that on this particular date, I learned about blockchain use cases in COVID-19 and from Blockchain Village and Medini, so our web series. So do stay until the end, to learn how to actually claim this. A little bit, of background, of these tokens. They are of limited quantity. This basically is used to prove that you have attended an event. It can be used to claim and redeem rewards for future events. Let's say, for example, who knows, maybe, okay, in the next Antchain event, okay, they might say that, okay, if you actually have attended Antchain events before, okay, you show this token, okay, as proof, and then you can actually redeem more rewards. Who knows? Okay, this is done by DEFCON, like Ethereum events like DEFCON, like ETH Denver, where, you know, if you have attended DEFCON 4, DEFCON 3, DEFCON 2, DEFCON 1, you have additional rewards. So these are the type of things, and it's recorded on the blockchain. Something to note, okay, that if you do claim these tokens, although it is transferable, please don't, because this is a token to prove that you, a unique person, actually attended an event. So if you do transfer it out to somebody else, then remember that it's an open, transparent public ledger. Everybody can see, okay, that it got transferred out. So it's not good for your image lah. So it's a game theoretic thing. Just don't do it. All right. All right. So on to the subject, okay, for today. Today is going to be quite different from what we have discussed over the last. If you have been attending Enterprise Blockchain Week in the last 7 days, this one will be talking specifically about what are the use cases that is being used in this era, okay, this very unique time that we are going through right now. How is the technology helping the situation, okay, and in what cases, and if they are successful in some areas, can it be successful in your industry, in your enterprise, in your use case? But I was informed that some of you might not have attended the blockchain enterprise blockchain week. Thus, you are still beginners, okay, about what is this thing called blockchain. So we're going to talk a little bit about this first before we begin. So if you're completely a beginner of blockchain, here are 3 things that you must know, okay, so that you can in a very short amount of time quickly get up to speed about why is everybody talking about blockchain? Why is it that this technology is getting so much attention worldwide? So the first thing to know about blockchain is that it is a data structure. It's just a way of arranging data, but in a very special way that it is trustworthy. So blockchain is a type of shared distributed ledger that is tamper resistant. By sharing the data with one another, it's kind of like you would know that because somebody else has the copy as well, therefore there's a point of verification. Things are much more seamless that way. Thus, people are able to trust the data better. So that's basically what blockchain is. It's just a shared database. The second thing that you must know, and what a lot of beginners tend to get confused by, is that they often associate blockchain with Bitcoin, and they think that Bitcoin is blockchain and vice versa. You need to know that Bitcoin is not blockchain. Bitcoin is just one example of a blockchain. And the reason why Bitcoin is that one example that people constantly talk about when talking about blockchain, because it was the first to demonstrate how a blockchain can function and allow people to transfer, exchange data, exchange value, and do it and be able to trust the data. Ironically, in the case of Bitcoin, without needing to trust anyone, Bitcoin is very human minimalistic, because the way that the transactions are verified are done by anonymous independent actors who basically run a computer code software, and everybody plays by the same rules. But that is just one kind of blockchain. Not all blockchains, okay, need to follow what Bitcoin did. But because of what Bitcoin did, blockchain become a topic, okay, an area of high interest because of the problems that it can solve. And we're going to basically invite our speakers and our panelists to share a lot of examples later on. But here's the third thing, okay, that you must know about blockchain before you actually dive into it, which is when not to use blockchain. Why is this important? Is because if you know this, then you don't find yourself in a position where you're using blockchain just because it is a hype word, okay? And everybody is doing blockchain. So The best way that in my 3 years in this industry, I have found to explain when to use blockchain, when not to use blockchain, is if there is a trust problem. Do you have a trust problem that you need to solve? I believe that I'm going to quote one of the thought leaders in the industry. His name is Mark Smalley. He's from Neuroware. And when I was a beginner myself, he made it so clear. Blockchain is useful. So when two people want to transact value with one another and they can trust one another, then there's no need for a blockchain. A database is just fine. Okay, you just freely transact. It's fast, it's quick, because you can trust one another. But when two people want to transact, go into a transaction, and one person cannot trust the other person, whether that data is correct. Let's say, for example, your electricity bills. You get your electricity bills in your house, and you don't know whether you can trust that the records that the TMB, the electricity company, is holding. Then a blockchain might actually solve that problem. When two people want to transact with one another and both cannot trust each other, then there is a high possibility that blockchain can become a very useful solution to your problem. Now, because trust is the underlying problem that it can solve, the use cases of blockchain is vast, is wide, and when done correctly, can scale really, really well. So here's just basically the really, really quick rundown, of how you can actually use blockchain, when to use it, when not to use it, what it is, and what it is not. So without further ado, today, and because of that also, because the use cases are emerging, early this year, we had a very interesting thing that happened, which was LinkedIn did a survey, and when they did this survey, they found that the number one highly demand skill for 2020, especially as we move, more into the digital space, we need to find a way to learn how to trust one another, trust the data. Thus, blockchain turned out to be the number one most in-demand skill for the year. And hence, that's why we want to organize more of these events, help you understand why blockchain matters, and where you can actually, what are the opportunities that you can take advantage of in this time. So today we have a very special lineup, of panelists. We have Wei Chi Chan from Sinegy. He is the head of business development there. Sinegy is Malaysia's first fully homegrown and regulated digital asset exchange. What it means, by fully homegrown, fully Malaysian team based up in the north, in Penang. I recently, heard that they are moving, but we are going to catch up, with the panelists soon, and then we can find out what's the latest with them. We also have Kenny Tan. He is the head of strategy for ASEAN, for Antchain. It's the blockchain protocol by the Ant Financial Services Group, formerly known as Alipay, and is an affiliate company of the Chinese Alibaba Group. Really happy to have Kenny with us today. We have also Ibrahim Majid from Blockchain Village Medini, BVAM. He is the project director there. He's the ecosystem builder supported by the federal and state government. We have Tom Trowbridge, former president of Hedera Hashgraph. Currently, he's a huge advocate. If you actually attended the Enterprise Blockchain Week yesterday, he was the final speaker. Huge advocate for Hedera Hashgraph network. Made a really compelling case of why Hashgraph is interesting and the obvious choice for enterprises. I was just informed that he's caught up with something urgent. Hopefully he can join us. For the session. And last but not least, we have Harpreet Singh from Blocklime. Blocklime is a blockchain development and training company that is special for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are technology agnostic. So whether is it that you're planning to build on Ethereum, you're planning to build on EOS, you're planning to build on Hyperledger, Quorum, Hedera Hashgraph, Blocklime is a group of young people who are able to give you advice, which is unbiased, and they have trained over 1,000 developers over the last 3 years. So I'm really happy, to have them with us today. I'm going to switch the screen so that you can actually see our panelists today. Welcome and good morning to everyone.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
So I think that the first question, that I'd like to ask everyone to kick off this panel session is, how are you? We're 40 days in MCO. How is everyone doing? And can you give us a little bit, about how the how is it doing in your own company? How has the COVID-19 affected the workplace environment in what you're doing right now? I'd like to start with Weiqi.
Hi. Personally, we're good. We're doing great. It's a very challenging time, of course. We literally launched our business from our own homes, right? We went through this assessment with the Securities Commission. We went live, rolled out the whole product, everything from home. So it is a unique experience. While we have our BCP, we never thought that we would go live with our BCP rather than the conventional going live plan where we would probably even have press release. So it is a unique experience. We're still adapting to it, but the team is doing very well.
How about you, Kenny? How are you?
Hi, we all are doing very good, and sorry. As you know, Ant Financials or even the Alibaba Group is an internet company. So basically, there's a lot of things that we do through internet, right? So basically, we're doing the transactions or tradings, or even we have providing the video live broadcast and all this business running on online as well. Right. So to us, it's quite feel normal. Well, it's just that working from home is a totally different experience from working in office. Yeah, of course. During this period of time, it's pretty much tough, especially when our clients are start getting used to things going through online. No handshakes, but just virtually from the screen itself and say hi. Yeah, so well, I think everyone will get used to it soon, and but then I think this is a challenge time. But then we'll see how we actually are able to help the enterprises or SMEs to go through this together.
So what about you, Ibrahim? So you gave us an introduction, to BVAM earlier, but how are things at the team?
I think we are doing great. I think I have to wait to our culture in the company where empowerment, transparency, process is in place. So we actually, without us knowing, we are actually prepared ourselves to go on remotely to work outside the office, but still able to basically deliver our services. But most importantly, I think this period, I would call it like a forced confinement period lah. During this forced confinement period, I think it actually make us pause and think and recharge, and of course reprioritize and also re-strategize ourselves. It has put us in another different light. Hence, it has actually influence or change the way we look at things. And as a result of this is also this webinar that we have today. It was initially meant a closed door face-to-face meeting. So now that we are under COVID-19, we have to basically rethink about how we're going to alter our approach, our strategy to engage the industry, to propagate the opportunity that BVAM has to offer the industry. Yeah, so we decided to do this webinar, and we are able to actually find partners who are willing to do it with us. And if not, I wouldn't be able to meet Kenny, Weiqi, I won't be able to meet hopefully Tom after this, if not because of this webinar. So So it has given us a good experience, I would say. But then again, what is important is transparency. Like you mentioned just now, if you want to have blockchain, you need to have transparency. You need to have trust. And if you don't have trust, then you should embrace blockchain even better. So yeah.
Harpreet?
I think we were kind of gearing up for this for a very long time. We had a lot of our business processes to be quite decentralized because I have quite a decentralized team. We have people in Western Malaysia, in East Malaysia, and we have people who are abroad. So in this case, we couldn't actually really operate a team at a single space. So, and in the case, plus we had our office in Cyberjaya, so we didn't want to travel there every day. And we slowly started to modify the processes to be more online, more work online, more reporting online, more calls online. And overall, when it comes towards the day-to-day business operation, we were not very affected in terms of operating because we operate as a software house, so we don't really, it doesn't really matter to us where the developers, as long as they deliver their tasks and they're actually responsive to, the work, and they're basically, finishing all the tasks that's been assigned to them. We even have, even before MCO, we had developers who was actually on the beach in Thailand, and they were working from there. People on at the other side in Sabah working from there. So in terms of the change, the only change now is they only can work from home. Other than that, we already been used to the process of a decentralized team, and even if you ask us what have we really changed, I don't think so much. Previously we did more offline kind of events. We were doing more frequent offline awareness events. Almost every week we were speaking somewhere. We were doing some sort of meetups, and now we're doing online. So we haven't even stopped that as well. So in terms of business, it's not it's not affected. And actually we started to get more inquiries because a lot of business that are infected now want to kind of go through a digital transformation plan, a business continuity plan, and then they feel that they should look into blockchain in a way for them to plan out a better, a supply chain or a better solution to kind of ensure that if there's any problem like this in future, or if this problem is actually going to prolong much longer, can they actually build solutions that can help them to, one, be lower in cost, more effective, and business to be less disturbed by this kind of outbreak. So I think overall that's how I am at the moment.
That's cool. Okay, so we're going to go into the questions right now. Now we have prepared some questions for you guys, but because this is imagine this is like a virtual roundtable, right? Okay, and we got you guys together, and because so imagine that this is a roundtable, and because some of you are also meeting here for the first time, please feel free, okay, to, if you wanted to ask, okay, the other person, okay, a question, please feel free to basically take the opportunity to basically ask questions to one another, because this is a rare opportunity in itself. All right, so the first question that I'd like to ask each of the panelists, okay, is that now that we are where we are today, in your opinion, each of your opinion, what are the kind of problems that COVID-19 has surfaced more apparently today than before? Harpreet, would you like to take this one first?
What are the sort of problems that COVID-19 brought to light? You mean in this case? I think one of the we can see that we were never ready to basically face such a challenge out there in the market. We were never ready for a pandemic, and a lot of businesses on the other hand had a kind of a similar footing as well, where we always thought that business will continually grow on like that. There won't be anything that will be affecting the supply chains, and we don't have to innovate. We don't have to find new ways to kind of improve, the way we provide the services. And now when we look into like during this lockdown period when businesses can't operate without offline, they can't operate out of their business space. I think that actually kind of brought to light that actually they are not as ready for for the future, and they're not yet ready to kind of really go through such pandemics or such situations in the future as well. So I think a lot of businesses really have to sit down and go through their business plans and how they are really operating, and how will they actually even plan to operate in the next few years, and kind of decide and try to innovate in that area. And plus, I think we also need to put in more investment in our healthcare sector and our tracking sectors in future, especially from the government side. They should be taking more decision to take more proactive measures towards solving such pandemic issues, and building applications, tools, and resources available. If there is such an activity, we do not go through such a big hassle and such a big economical problem. Because although yes, we are locked down, personally we do not really have that big an issue, but the economy is suffering massively, and we were already in a debt crisis before, and now I believe it's going to kind of give us a bigger challenge to kind of recover from where we were, and at the same time we have going to have most probably a negative growth as well this year. I'm not an economist, but just looking at the figures and looking at the way we have been operating, I think we were not prepared to take the shock in our economy. We're not prepared to take the shock in our medical healthcare and our basic for the whole country, basically, to go through this kind of a pandemic situation. And I think we need to take more proactive measures in future. Yeah.
Would anybody else like to add something?
I think,
Kenny?
Ibrahim, you can go first.
Ibrahim, yeah.
No worries.
I think it has actually redefined the what they call the landscape when it comes to risk. I think never before we thought that economic or financial crisis could come from a global health crisis. We always relate to either financial or economic factor as the main factor for business disruptions. So I think another key points that we need to take into consideration now is, health crisis can also lead to a bigger economic crisis. What started as the global health crisis now has turned into a global trade and economic crisis. So company have to assess their business continuity plan, their strategy, and we can see which are the company now that are prepared and those who are not prepared. Those who have managed to seamlessly what they call that and rise up to the challenge, and be able to still maintain their operation, are those who are maybe not 100% prepared, but they have some sort like a digital strategy, business continuity plan in place. But having said that, for those companies who are not prepared, it's a good time. It's a wake-up call for them to really now go into the strategy, or even looking into developing a strategy how they can digitize their business, and also they can actually go into full automation. We are now pushing for industrial forward. Now I think it's the right time for us to revisit that what they call that strategy, or even push the agenda even further. So I think where we come into is where we said that, when it comes to business continuity plan, when we go and talk to companies, especially now that, as you know, our location is just a stone throw away from Singapore. So Singapore is one of our target markets. So we are going there and promoting VBAM to see, how VBAM can be used as a strategy for the companies in Singapore as part of their business continuity plan, and to be able to reduce whatever challenges that they face today in terms of cost. Like what Harpreet mentioned, they are having a lot of issues with their business. They are also they have to basically maintain high cost operating. So we said, why don't you do it in Johor and at least minimize some of those costs, because we are much cheaper and still have access to the talent that we have in Johor. And of course, it's also part of your business continuity plan. in BVM.
Betul. Kenny?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Ibrahim. I'm waiting for your stone. I'm based in Singapore.
Very good.
All right. So I think, yeah, a lot of people have been say that, this is a problem, like, what have been the COVID-19 had caused into. But if I would say from my personal point of view, I would say it's an opportunity, right? So in Chinese itself, we call it a crisis. There's a two words. It's called 危机, right? Is the last word, 机 is an opportunity itself. So where we see there's a lot of opportunities in the market or in the sector as well. Well, a lot of people seeing that they suffer, but then I would say that there is an opportunities for the enterprises to think how to make things available online, or we call it O2O, online to offline to online, right? So this is something that we see that very much potentials where it's a new way of doing things, a new way of doing business, where I think enterprises, SMEs should look into this, and this is a different way, a different opportunities, and where we should go through this and also leveraging on what we have, also that the enterprises or technology partners, all the technologies that have on the markets right now, to help them into turning over the crisis into opportunity itself.
Weiqi?
Well, I generally think that the problems that are occurring during this this whole crisis, it's not so much so about just the lack of preparedness, but it's also brought forward by the lack of access to information, education, right? So we are definitely among the more privileged one, that we understand how to go online, how to search for solutions, what to do next. You have online communities, but we got to think about millions of people around the world still, or even within Malaysia, that do not have proper online engagement, right? They don't know how to seek for help when their business, they need a transformation for their business at this point, right? So this is where I think the access to information, right? Earlier education, even though people aren't prepared, but they know that, oh, yeah, I could actually list my products online, but we see a whole hectic supply chain, mismanagement. Suddenly people dumping vegetables, newspaper, right? It was reported that people had to dump their vegetables away because it was planted in Camerons. There was no transportation going into certain cities here and there. So I just think that the solutions are there. It's just that a lot of people in Malaysia particularly should be more aware, should take the effort to learn more about the availability of technology for their problems. Yeah.
Thanks. It's very, very interesting because I'm hearing, number one, Harpreet saying that what COVID-19 has shown us is that because it's global, we are not ready, globally, to handle this kind of crisis. I also got access to information from Weiqi. Now, and what I think, I've also read somewhere is that what COVID-19 actually has shown us is that there is a need for more international collaboration, a way for us to basically be able to communicate and share data and act on those data. But in order for there to be more international collaboration, what are the challenges, behind that? Especially, like in the medical line. Maybe can you share a little bit about what are the challenges, that need to be overcome first, so that we can actually see that?
Well, I think challenges from a medical perspective, I think it's the transparencies and as well as the data privacies as well. So this is something that we see that there's a few solutions which is currently available in using blockchain to handle this. Maybe I can share my screen. Hold on.
Sure.
Well, let me putting the screen to the right this one. All right, so this one. So let me know when the screen is pop up.
Yeah, it's
There we
just full screen.
Okay.
The screen.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is one of the solutions we call it medical data sharing solutions, which is previously we have introduced this in the blockchain enterprise introduction itself, and I'll just repeat it again, where well, a lot of our clients that come to us, even though some are hospitals, and says that, hey, how can I put blockchain solutions on the medical information or medical data itself, right? So because nowadays there's a lot of patients that went to for body checkup, and and if let's say they found out some issues and they would like to seek for a second opinion, then they may need to go to the second hospitals or clinics or whatsoever to do the second checkup again. But then will this information carried by the patients itself to the next second opinion? So this is something that which is a question marks, right? So whereas this solutions is basically allow the consortiums or the group of medical teams that able to share or able to have this platform where the data belongs to the users itself, belongs to the patients. The patients have the rights to own the data, and the patients have the rights to issues that say that I give the consensus to this Dr. A or Dr. B or Dr. C to have to see my data or to look into my data as well. And this platform, you see that for the industry, it's not just about hospital, it's not just about patients, but it also involves like insurance, pharmaceuticals, research institutions, right? So if let's say this is something weird, right, or this is something weird, so where is it this is able to share with the symptoms, able to share with research institutions, will allow them to do more research. And also it looks at government as well, right? From a healthcare perspective, they should able to have a tap into this chain and to have the consensus from all parties to get the relevant information itself. Now, as just I mentioned, Jason, about the data sharing, and on your first introduction, it's about trust, right? So if you trust each other, both parties, you can do the transactions without anything, without a blockchain, right? So quote back this scenario, so where you can see that this is a ecosystem, is a consortium itself, right? It's involved a lot of people, right? So that's where that blockchain in place is where they have consensus from each of every party to make sure that everyone have the right access and consensus to use the information on top of the chain itself. So this is something that we see that potentially it will be something very useful after this. From today onwards, and you can see that from COVID-19, this may be something that enterprises or medicals should be exploring on these solutions.
Harpreet, would you like to add anything on this?
I think in the light on the current situation, I think one of the big issues that we faced during this pandemic was, reliability of the information and trust, how trustworthy it was. So one of the criticism that a lot of people make to China and the Chinese government, that they told that they actually were late to inform to WHO and all the other government organization. But if I really go back and track back, actually they did inform quite early as well. And but there's still counter party arguments telling that, hey, you should have done better, and you should have informed better. We didn't actually receive this information. We didn't know this was coming. Although a lot of these countries saw this coming in, it's like some the truck is already heading towards hitting you, and it's horning from miles away, telling you that you're gonna get hit. Just move out of the way. And once it hits you, you complain that, hey, I got hit, you didn't tell me to move or something, right? So it was quite obvious that it is coming, and the people have to take them, precautionary measures to ensure the safety of the public and the safety of their citizens. But a lot of people kind of refuse to do that because it will affect the stock market. It will affect the economy when they admit that this crisis is real. And a lot of misinformation was actually put into the media, into the online platforms and kind of bill the COVID situation just like like another flu or another kind of like just another small crisis that people can go through, and people's lives are not really affected, and people can move on their daily life without any protection, right? So there were the trust in that data is not there. Number two, even today, certain websites, a lot of them are all referring to the same open source data for COVID trackers, but some of the websites are giving different sort of information on COVID and different sort of tracking numbers, and some of them are underrepresenting the tracking numbers as well. The problems is here today, even in tracking COVID cases, right? So in this case, you can see the trust even in the data of the pandemic cases are not yet secure. What about responses? What about like treatments? What about all the other things that the frontline in medical need to know? And how can they even trust the information that's being provided to them? So even just to take the case in America, they actually had all the action plans already ready months ago when they got case number 1 in America. They already had that, but they just couldn't take it into effect because the political parties just kind of rejects to accept the idea that there is a serious COVID threat in America or any threat in Europe. And it got too late in such responses that it kind of caused now millions infected, billions quarantined, and thousands dead with this whole pandemic situation. So we could have better managed this. We could have better built this thing. And one of the issues that was lacking, there's no transparency in the beginning, but now it is. There was lack of trust on the data that was being provided. There was lack of, there was underestimate of that whole situation because people just felt that this is a small flu because of the misinformation as well. Because we have our politicians going up online and telling that you should be drinking hot water to kill coronavirus, right? So we had situations like that. We have people asking you to drink, detergents to kind of kill viruses in your body. Please, nobody listen to such advices. Please use your own mind to basically take the decisions. And I'll say that a lot of misinformation was there. So you can see that in the medical sector, we need a better way of kind of sharing information, collaborating with all the other medical fronts. I think at the same time, countries need to keep aside their political agendas, but when it comes to a time of crisis or health crisis, they should kind of have a more neutral standing and kind of a more collaborative ground. Because even today, a lot of countries are still refusing to work with their neighbors and their partners, closing their borders because of the issue that they have political problems. But disease doesn't know any political grounds. They do not really care about who you believe in, what is a religion, or whatever political standing you have. It still spreads. It still kills people. So I think we need to take better measures, better collaborative measures from the medical information to the medical delivery and kind of build a more trusted layer to kind of fight this, future possibilities of such crises again, right? It's because now as we get more globalized, where the populations increase, and if we do not change a lot of our habits and we do not take more proactive measures, more pandemics are meant to be happening. A lot of people think that COVID is the pandemic that we face, but this was one of the most infectious one. It was not the deadliest. If you go back and see in the history of pandemics, we're actually having an active pandemic almost every year. Before COVID was there, MERS was one of the ones that was really active. And there was also many other kind of viruses that were actually rampaging different areas of the world. COVID is one of the most globalized infections and viruses that we have right now. But pandemics is happening all the time. And in another time, if we actually got hit with similarly infectious virus with deadlier impact, actually we will take much bigger blow to economy, to our population, to people. There is a possibility that billions will die as well. And I think this has been warned by a lot of industry experts and healthcare experts for years, but it was always been ignored. And I think now it brought into the light that we need better collaboration, we need better systems in place and technologies in place to basically make sure that we are ready. And if ever things like this happen, situations like today should not repeat. Yeah.
But here's a question, okay, for the panel, right? Which is that, okay, now we know that there is need for international collaboration. Now we know that there is need for a way to trust data, share data, and be able to trust the data. But has there been any successful use case, okay, where they demonstrated, okay, that they are able to do that? Can anyone share successful use case so that we can emulate them? I'm opening up to the floor. Anyone can take this up.
I haven't seen or recall any specific companies, but I guess I have read a few companies that were working on tracing solutions, tracing not just on the medical supply side during this COVID-19 crisis, but also tracing when it comes to humanitarian aids, for example. So I would assume that the best use case when it comes to a real life action case for during COVID-19 situations would be on the tracing side, powered by blockchain.
Okay.
I
So
actually,
then a question for, oh, sorry.
So I actually saw another
Go ahead,
use case.
Harpreet.
I just can't recall what was the name. There was a few. There's a blockchain project that was funded by Consensus, if I'm not mistaken. That they actually were kind of trying to build and develop, a product towards solving some of the issues, especially in tracking of contact tracing problem with privacy. And I think that there are definitely many use cases that we actually can deploy and the technology can enable to do. But I will say that you won't hear a lot of blockchain use cases out there today solving the COVID problem of today itself, is because we never prepared the base layer. We were never prepared for the situation, so blockchain could not be kind of really deployed for a lot of use cases on the masses, or and for the use of the masses. Because if we had the base layers, if we had blockchain powering digital identities, blockchain powering supply chains for streamlining, blockchain powering smart contracts, we wouldn't have these problems. But now today, since we do not have a lot of these base layers ready, so if you want to go and redeploy any of that, like solutions or power that a lot of these blockchains can provide, the market out there just don't have that base layers ready right now. So a lot of the solutions are dependent on such services to pre-exist. And if not now, they have to go in and kind of redo the processes, and they will take longer time and in current situation to apply a blockchain than a regular database, because and I think a lot of people are thinking of going in, building an application that works today. And I will say that post-COVID situation, we should kind of build all these blockchain platforms that kind of solve this issue, for once for all, instead of kind of revisiting a situation, kind of looking into going through the problems that we had before COVID situations.
Then maybe help me answer this then, Harpreet. Either Harpreet or Kenny can take this up. All right. So where this one begins, we have about like 60 to 70 people, and probably, there are some people who are linked to the medical line here. Okay. How do they actually get on board, okay, to solve the problem, okay, in terms of data sharing and using a blockchain? Do they consider developing their own or use an existing one? What is the approach, okay, that they should take, Harpreet or Kenny?
Kenny, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I think put it this way. The deck that I shared just now is a service is provided as a service. So basically, we encourage users or enterprises. You can engage either technology partners to build the application on top of it, because as of now, we don't see much of such kind of a SaaS-based model available, right? And in a way that the standards may be different from each of the individuals medicals. All right, so we are open to see that if let's say that medicals that say that for example a chain of hospitals says that I want to onboard on this, right? So then it will become we will start to look into how build the consortiums or ecosystem together, right? From Antchain standpoint, of course, we are the technology providers. We provide the technology itself. We don't operate it, but then we are able to give consultancies and also share with the hospital itself. In other of the region, in the other part of the world, how are we actually doing it itself, right? So then they can actually localize it. We can help together to localize it and make it available on the locals, the local way of using it, right? Because today we see that I share a lot of use case that what we do in China itself, right? But then how about the rest outside of China? Is it copy and paste? No, it won't work this way. It won't work this way. So we need to do a localization. When we talk about localizations, we need local enterprises, we need local ecosystem, we need local consortium to come up together and build this up, right? So of course, if the hospital have a large ecosystem, which some of the hospital in Malaysia do have, well, they are able to do that. They're able to do that itself, right? One more thing that I would share, if you don't mind. Okay, hold on. This is one of the, during the pandemic itself, what happens in our China team, which is they shared yesterday in one of the sharing sessions about blockchain and COVID-19 as well, about contactless contract bidding. Businesses still need to go on, right? Contract still need to go on, and there's a lot of biddings that still need to go on, right? We can't stop all these kind of things. So how they actually leverage on blockchain and Alipay this applications to do it, right? So the providers or the contracting parties will put all the information on top of the chain itself, on the end chain, and then the bidder will be prepared to tender according to bidding instructions and etc. So bidders submit their digital tender before the bid open, and then when the bid is opening, the evaluation committee publish the evaluation result, and bidder will able to view and confirm their bidding result. Now, this is a technical it's a process diagram that you can see, but look into this, the scenes on site. How does it look like? It's still a scenes on site where there's one operator that operated, but you see there's nobody sitting. This is the real screen. The real situations where my colleagues in China during the pandemic, they actually have one of the situation here, right? So you see, that is how things works using blockchain itself. You can even do a online bidding for the tender during this pandemic. So it can work in anywhere. It's just that who will be the first mover? Who would like to start first outside of China or in put it this way, in Malaysia, right? Who would like to be the first mover to start this? And I believe when one started, then there will be a follower. There will be people to follow up. I mean, continue using the same way itself. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Harpreet?
I think there should be a bit of a mindset change as well in a lot of places, because people should previously we just go with the flow, like whatever has been built previously, we just follow it, and a lot of like industries leaders, they never decided to change because it was a working system. The wheel was working, so we just didn't decided to remove it. We never decided to kind of improve what we had. But I think right now, since a lot of people have time, they're sitting down at home, they really have to go through thinking what can they do for their business. So I think take this time to kind of really reflect back, where are the areas that can change. And some of the tips I'll give, like if you really look into your day-to-day businesses, if you see paper operations, you see papers being operated, being printed, being verified, or something like that, first thing you want to think, how can you replace that? Can that be online? Because a lot of people thought they have to do a lot of printing, but actually while they're sitting at home, they notice they don't really have to. I actually never use a printer, I think for 8 months already. I do almost all my signing, approval, checking, contracts, everything online. And I don't do any, what they call paper invoices. I don't do any of that. So I hardly use the printers. I don't even have a printer at home at the moment. And my business can operate in that manner. So in this case, situations like this, I do not need anybody to do a lot of these filings or or verification or any of rechecking. But a lot of the businesses out there are still very paper driven. One of the reasons they cannot go digital is because they need their invoices, they keep the invoices, they file the invoices, then they some of them go online and put them up. But a lot of times they need people to just manage the piece of papers, which a computer can do easily without that. And if you really look into the situation, and I really hope that more and more businesses can go online, and more businesses, not only online, more can go digital. First of all, there can be a lot of areas that we can really improve on. We can reduce the inefficiencies that are already there in the system, right? And plus, the second question and the second mindset you should have: if I need to go somewhere to do something, can I do that from home, right? Instead, can I do that from home instead, right? If I have to go somewhere, you ask the question: do I really have to be there? Do I really have to do this from that particular areas? Can I do this online? And what will be the advantages of doing online? Like the use case that Kenny kind of given, that is kind of saving a lot of money and cost for a lot of people for moving, even a non-COVID day. In this case, I could have been sitting down in my house and applying for a tender and kind of bidding for that and going through the process. And that could have been done from anywhere, even during a non-COVID situation. And it could have been a much better feature, and it would have allowed more participation of people in a tender system, and more transparency as well for the businesses. Even if COVID situation didn't force them to do that, we could have had that innovations much earlier. Yeah, Jason. Yeah.
Right. So Harpreet, so you mentioned that this one of the things is the mindset change. That people are still using paper processes and etc., and they are still struggling to shift and transition into a digital space. But I think that the answer to this, right, is that you need to show them the carrot. And one of the carrots which I find blockchain is very interesting is that it enables resources to reach its destinations much more faster and more transparently, more seamlessly. And I'd like to give a couple of examples by showing one of the things that our panelist is actually doing right now is that Sinegy is helping Global Sadaka. So Global Sadaka is this platform where you can actually help people to contribute donations. You can donate to the campaigns like this one. And right now, Global Sadaka is Malaysia's first to accept Bitcoin as donations. I think that this is fresh off the news. All right, and it's really, really seamless. And what I think, Wichi, can you share a little bit of how you're helping Global Sadaka on this campaign?
Right. So Global Sadaka mainly they're exploring a lot of payment options for the Muslim community. So particularly for this case, they've launched a crowdfunding platform for donations. As you can see on the website earlier, they have already integrated with a lot of mainstream e-wallets provider. So you see Boost there, Razer there. So what we're doing for them is that we will be their gateway back to ringgit, right? So a lot of people in Malaysia, they're expecting to donate towards the causes through Bitcoin. And where we come in is where certain charity foundations who might not accept Bitcoin yet, then they convert it to ringgit through Global Sadaka will convert the funds to ringgit through us and then channel it to the appropriate foundations.
So this is really, really cool, because what that means is that one of the things that it allows people to do is to basically get resources to the people that need it the most really, really quickly. So here is an example of me donating 5 ringgit through the Bitcoin Lightning Network, and done. Payment has been sent. And Sinegy, so this is like one of the best use cases, because for me, right, I'm a bit biased because I'm I'm very pro crypto, but one of the things, because of being in the cryptocurrency space, is that like for example, this relief program that we have during COVID-19, where we're allowed to withdraw 500 ringgit from our account from our retirement savings. Fine, some people are happy with that, some people are unhappy with that. But what I was particularly not it was quite strange to me is because when I realized if I made the application now, the first payment will come 1 month later. And to me, that is in the blockchain space, that is just like doesn't make sense. It's too slow. But imagine, but we need to understand why is that the case. And I think Harpreet mentioned is because the legacy systems, are still paperwork. They need to verify that Jason is, I have a record and EPF, and they need to process all these different kind of things. By digitalizing and by using in on the shared ledger, by using blockchain, it will solve these kind of problems. And this is the thing that I'm looking most forward to. This is another example, of in the Ethereum ecosystem, right? This is Gitcoin. Gitcoin is a place where people can get funds for developing what we call open source projects. If you're developing a public good, usually you would face what we call the tragedy of commons. People don't necessarily fund open source projects. So if you're running one, you can actually seek support from grants. And a lot of people who are developing like open source ventilators, COVID-19 response, get the their support from here. And this is supported by people like Vitalik Buterin himself, put in 50,000 to support the grant money. Gitcoin bought 50,000. And this kind of value transfer, to me is the most interesting thing. So kudos to Sinegy, for helping a Global Sadaka on that. Moving on, in terms of the next topic, right, is jobs. So I'd like to ask, the panelists, because we're approaching, I think that we are approaching, we have about like 23 minutes left. I'd like to get, your thoughts, on this. Right now, a lot of people, they are stuck at home. They're looking for alternative sources of income. Unemployment is skyrocketing. We have not seen unemployment at this level before. But one of the areas, that is actually growing in terms of jobs is in blockchain. So can I get the panel's views, on this? Is it really happening? Is blockchain really growing? And if it is really growing, if the career opportunities are there, what must they do, to prepare themselves to get these to get these opportunities? Can the panelists share, starting from Kenny first, then Weiqi?
Well, I think yes. Put it this way: I see a lot of use cases that has been used, of course, in based in our HQ itself, which is in China. So we see, I see a lot of these opportunities, and that is why also from Antchain blockchain team decided to set up a business unit to handling overseas market. Right. So of course, I believe that this is what the bosses see these opportunities and things are coming through. So that is where that we potentially that in the market, the market is there, and it's just that who will be the first mover and who will be adopting. Before blockchain itself, we heard about AI, right? And a lot of people talking about AI or talk about data scientists. I think to me, I feel like it's almost a similar thing. Right. So people talk about AI, but then, when you go and meet some of the enterprises, they say, I want an AI, right? But then they may not know very clearly what does it able to help them to resolve. Same to blockchain as well, right? So maybe a lot of people or enterprises may think that, it's a distributed database or whatsoever. But then when we share more about use cases, they will see differently. So towards enterprises, we will not share about blockchain technologies because it may be quite hard to be understand, but then we will share a enterprise-wise that they know that by use case itself, right? So share some use case with them and how this use case resolve their issues, and there they will see the potentials of the blockchain. And in fact, we are looking on the companies or enterprises, companies or technology partners that who have the capabilities to develop solutions on top of blockchain and push this together into the region itself. So yeah, definitely there's opportunities in this area.
Yeah. So I definitely echo Kenny's sentiments about the abundance of opportunities in blockchain. So if you look at blockchain, it's generally a technological platform or a philosophy, right, in a way, as a protocol. So we do see opportunities for blockchain in finance, agriculture, supply chain, many different fields for many subset of problems. And I believe that we are still just barely scratching the surface, still very emerging, right? So I think individuals can at least start to understand the principles of blockchain, right? You don't have to go in into a deep dive differentiating different chains and technology specs, but at least understanding in principle what is the difference between blockchain versus a centralized database system, and how do you use those knowledge and apply it within your existing job scope, for example, your existing industry, right? I think it starts from there. And if there is an applicable solution to it, then either do you foresee yourself becoming a tech person and learn how to program and code on the blockchain, or you can always deploy your skills elsewhere, but still within the scope of blockchain in your business. So plenty of opportunities, accountants.
All right, Ibrahim.
What's
that? What? Yes, exactly. So, yes, I wanted you to share. Okay, what are kind of programs that BFAM actually help to people on this regard?
Okay, before that, I just want to also add on to the other panelists in terms of the potential of this industry, right? I mean, based on the research which was done similarly by LinkedIn. Let me just share you the screen here.
Yeah, sure.
Can you see? Yes, this one.
Yes.
So
just full screen up there. Present mode.
Presentation mode. Yeah. So at the moment, based on the analysis did, we managed to gather numbers in terms of the existing talent that is out there for blockchain. We are still a very low end, which is about 2,600 talent found on LinkedIn. This is just as a guide, and this is against the industry, the hiring growth that has been happening on a year-to-year basis. You can see the number 90% there. That's the number of hiring growth for the last 1 year. So there's the number has almost doubled for the last 1 year in terms of the hiring. And at the same time, because of the lack of the talent, a lot of the employer find it is very challenging for them to find talent for blockchain. And most of these talent are actually being hired by some of the top employers. Most of them are actually MNCs, and they belong to different type of industry or different type of job scope. It could be under IT services all the way down to banking. But in terms of the top talent location, Johor is one of it. They made it to the top 5. Surprisingly, Johor has got the talent in terms of the blockchain talent that companies can explore. And in terms of hidden gem, basically this hidden gem means there are more that supply than demand. So we have more talent in Johor compared to the demand in Johor. So this is where I think we took this as a pointer for us to further build BFAM, as the location and for company to take advantage of all these what they call that hidden gems. And the top talent supplier in terms of the university that are already providing or supplying the talent, three of them, the top five, three of them are actually located in Medini, Iskandar Putri. So hence why we feel that our location is suitable to support the industry. And having said that, we are already putting into motion the strategy for us to develop the blockchain talent. I think I agree with Chiwe just now that, you know, one of the things that we need to do is awareness, right? Because a lot of, most of the time, the talent out there is not aware about blockchain industry. So we have already identified a few areas for talent development under VBAM, where we have identified the key stakeholders that we want to work with, and write on the existing program that they already have at the university. For example, we identified MDEC, Premier Digital Tech University program, where they have connection with 16 university and polytechnics. So this is where we can immediately leverage on that and go and, you know, talk to the university, promote and do awareness program. At the same time, try to do this curriculum immersion, where we can actually incorporate blockchain as part of the teaching syllabus. So these are the things that we feel that we've done in order for us to build the talent pool, trying at the same time recognizing the fact that there's a huge potential for employment in the blockchain industry. Right? Yeah, that's my input when it comes to the talent side.
Harpreet, a little bit about what do people need, to get the blockchain jobs?
Yeah, I think definitely there's a lot of requirements. I think there's still Ethereum is still leading the way. Ethereum-based technologies are still leading the way. In terms of types of programming languages, you definitely have to look into Golang, Solidity as one of the strong languages out there that has been adopted on multiple platforms. If you've been hearing on our Enterprise Blockchain Week, you'll notice that a lot of platforms already are using quite of similar programming languages to ensure there's talent availability. So that's the reason we focus a lot of our training towards the sectors as well. And I think if people who are interested to get these jobs, even on our groups, Blocklime groups, we usually do some postings of some jobs, because we usually get a lot of calls from people who are trying to hire, especially blockchain leads or blockchain developers, that they can't locate talent, and we usually post them in our channels and our groups usually, because we know there's a pool of blockchain developers in these groups. So if you're interested, feel free to contact us. If we have something in hand, we will usually share this out. We don't charge anything. We are not recruiters. We don't want to be in the recruiting business, or you're not even focusing in that area. We just kind of position ourselves as trying to make sure that people are able to find jobs, and as more jobs are created, it kind of boosts the overall ecosystem as well, and more people will be there'll be a more healthier, bigger industry here in Malaysia. But before just coming towards this, I just want to put up one highlight over here. I think how blockchain is kind of can be a way to change how we've been even providing education. Because I just thought of this behind my mind. I was just thinking about it. Because if you really look into it today, a lot of universities, colleges going to take a huge hit with this COVID-19. A lot of people have to delay at least 1 semester, 2 semesters to really kind of catch up with the previous students. And there's possibility new students will not really come in the cycle. And we do not know how long. Like in Malaysia, we might be lucky, but in countries like the States and everywhere else, if they do not go digital now, they're basically will have a huge loss on in terms of their in the education sector, in the talent development sector, and all of that. And if you really come back to that, one of the things that I really think blockchain can provide that e-learning platform was lacking till today is definitely accreditation and credentials, valid credentials. Nobody wanted to walk out there and look out for jobs with a Coursera certificate or a degree till today, is because most of them lack the credential or the kind of name behind it. But I think now if universities can leverage on the blockchain technology, one, to go out there, provide e-learning and provide credentials powered by blockchain, and ensuring that these are not copies, these are not something that you can just download from the internet and put up your name on it. And plus, it comes with a good quality. A lot of the universities in Malaysia itself also can go online. If there's a second wave, third wave, or fourth wave of COVID that hits our country, at least our education and talent sector is ready to pick up the jobs. And in terms of blockchain jobs, a lot of the jobs are available for remote workers and they can work from anywhere. So it doesn't matter to them as long as they're educated, they're available with the skill set. People are willing to employ them from home as well. So for us, I have never actually met some of my workers as well physically, and in this case, we are still hiring people from outside because we do not have we can't find talent here in Malaysia. So in this case, definitely will help a lot of the universities to also go through a digital transformation now. One, to save themselves from losses. Number two, also to make sure their business model is much better to kind of counter to such situations. At the same time, to also increase their reach or in terms of the types of students they can do and lower their costs of education. Today, a lot of students are paying so much of fees to get into universities, and there is a problem where a huge number of Malaysians are still not able to afford that, and a lot of the services and a lot of the aids that are available to educational aids that are available out there, not everybody is able to have them or and get those aids, right? No scholarships, no PTPTN for a lot of these people. So if universities can work towards digitizing and reducing that cost, even more Malaysians can go to university, and more Malaysians can get a higher paid salary jobs as well. So I think there's things that universities should sit down and consider now. They should think in their business model, and blockchain can help them in these few manners over here.
Wow. Okay.
Definitely an area that we can also explore, because where we are in Medini Iskandar Puteri, we have this place called EduCity. It's a cluster of universities. So maybe something that I can actually take back and actually discuss and see whether how blockchain can help the universities already there.
Yeah, I mean, if you really see the kids today, they are all watching and learning from iPads. And during this COVID situation, a lot of people are forced to sit down on their laptops and kind of attend classes through virtual. So they're going to basically get used to that in this situation. And next, they don't think of going classes and learning anymore. The only reason a lot of people never liked learning online is because our primary was always educating us to sit down in a classroom and learn there, and go back home, you play games on the tablet. But now if students are also learning on the tablet, they also can kind of get the feeling that, I can also adjust myself to learn on PCs and computers, not just in a classroom. So I think over time, the mindset of a lot of students and a lot of people will be more receptive towards online education. And I think universities should play a role to position themselves there, and at the same time find new business models.
Agreed.
Yeah, Jason.
Wow, that is really, that was really good. Okay, I'm going to right now do a quick takeaways. All right, okay, of what we have discussed, okay, in the last 1.5 hours. That was amazing, okay. I'd like to thank all our panelists for spending the morning to share with us. So first and foremost, what COVID-19 has showed us is that we are not ready to handle a global pandemic, because what COVID-19 really was is a global crisis. It was global, it was borderless, it did not matter. And it required an unprecedented amount of, coordination, and it calls for more collaboration and the ability. And the only way that we are able to respond quickly to another crisis is that we are able to communicate and trust the data that we are sharing with one another. So this is where blockchain, because blockchain's underlying problem that it can solve is trust, thus a lot of the use cases applies in what we are facing right now. However, the use cases are not only limited to medical data sharing, but how we in general, because now we are taking a lot of our work online and digitally, how do we do things digitally, and we are able to trust one another when we transact. Another thing about blockchain is that when done right, when done successfully, equals to seamless resource deployment. That means that that means that resources can get to the places that it needs to be very quickly, openly, and transparently. And love to thank Sinegy for doing such a great job with Global Sadaka. And Johor currently has more talent supply need to match with the global demand. This is a huge takeaway for me. I did not know this until Ibrahim just mentioned just now. And Blocklime says that we need more talent, so you guys can connect after this on that.
Yes.
Local universities must look into providing blockchain training. I think that this is a huge takeaway as well. The universities, today need to provide something that is current and something that is relevant. They should and must look into this, and preferably some sponsored ones to begin with. Because so that the young people today can pick it up. They can't afford to attend. We can empower them with the correct skills, so that they can go out there, help solve problems, earn really, really good income, and then the positive feedback cycle can continue. So with that, this concludes our first blockchain Village at Medini web series. Thank you so much for listening in. The next steps is to join. If you want to know more about the kind of projects, the kind of programs that BVAM has, do join their Telegram group. I'm going to leave the screen here for about 10 seconds. For everybody to see. All right, it's TME/BVAP Medini. We're going to put the link into the Facebook groups and the relevant groups in the comment section later. Do join that so that you can get in touch and be in the know what are the kind of upcoming programs that BVAM is coming up. With that, just want to basically share with everyone that later today at 6 p.m. I am doing a session, with Bright ID about universal basic income. There is an upcoming global UBI experiment. We're calling for 2,000 early adopters worldwide. It's kind of like what operates in a raffle, where a person will be selected, to earn a UBI of $100 per month for 12 months. It's really, really interesting, to attend this. You need to go to brightid.org/meet and sign up for the East, the meetup that's happening, in Asia. And last but not least, thank you so much. We hope that, thank you to the panels, thank you, Kenny, thank you, Ibrahim, thank you, Wei Chi, thank you, Harpreet, for spending your morning, with us. Do leave us feedback, so that our panelists can also know whether, what you like to care about this session. Do you gain a lot? Is there something that you would love to learn about more? Please leave that in the feedback form. We're going to leave this in the comment section as well, and you can claim your unique proof of attendance ERC721 token. So with that, again, thank you very much. And we hope to do this again really, really soon. All right. So Kenny, I hope that you enjoy yourselves. Wei Chi, I certainly did. Harpreet, Wei Chi, and Ibrahim, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone. Nice meeting, everyone.
Nice meeting you guys. See you.
Yeah. See ya.
All
Bye-bye.
right. See you.
Good day, everyone. Stay safe.